Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Mario and I will be helping you to sleep while getting some wisdom and knowledge. Let us journey back together to a time of quiet strength and gentle splendor, to the height of the Roman Empire at its most peaceful. This remarkable empire stretched from the misty shores of the British Isles down to the warm deserts of Africa, and from the coast of Spain in the west to the fertile lands of Mesopotamia in the east. Imagine a world where so many diverse cultures, languages, and traditions could blend together, all under the peaceful shadow of the Roman eagle. It was a time of great innovation and profound thought, a cultural flowering that left a soft, indelible mark upon the story of our world. Now picture the city of Rome itself, the heart of the empire, pulsating with a calm, steady rhythm. The city's grandeur could be seen in its towering monuments, its serene public spaces, and its lavish villas, a quiet testament to the empire's prosperity. Rome was a city of gentle contrasts, where magnificent temples and luxurious palaces stood peacefully alongside bustling marketplaces. The streets were alive with a constant, gentle hum, the soft calls of vendors, the distant laughter of children at play, and yet it was also a place for quiet reflection, with serene gardens and tranquil public baths offering a restful escape from the energy of the city. The people of Rome were as varied as the city they called home. There were the patricians, the wealthy aristocrats who lived in grand villas, their walls adorned with elaborate mosaics and colorful frescoes. They were surrounded by lush gardens and the soft murmur of fountains, their days filled with public duties and quiet, elegant entertainments. And then there were the plebeians, the common people of Rome. They were the farmers, the traders, the craftsmen, the very backbone of the city. Though their lives were simpler, they were a vital part of the great rhythm of the empire. Life here was not only about politics and power, but was also rich in cultural and intellectual pursuits. The Romans were great admirers of Greek learning, and under the quiet patronage of emperors, philosophy, literature, and the arts flourished. The words of poets like Virgil and philosophers like Marcus Aurelius are still with us today, whispers from a time long past. But of course, life in such a vast empire was also marked by hardship. Its immense size made it a challenge to govern, and for many, especially those in servitude, life was often harsh and difficult. The distance between the wealthy and the poor was great. Despite these challenges, the Roman Empire held together for centuries, a testament to its remarkable organization, and in this world there was also time for enjoyment and celebration. The Romans were known for their love of games and spectacles. In the Colosseum, the largest amphitheater in the empire, thrilling gladiatorial contests were held. And in the Circus Maximus, a massive stadium, tens of thousands of spectators would gather to watch the breathtaking chariot races, great public events that bound the people together in shared excitement and wonder. Faith was woven deep into the fabric of daily life in the Roman Empire. The Romans looked to a whole pantheon of gods and goddesses, performing quiet rituals and gentle sacrifices to ensure the favor of these divine beings, who they believed watched over their city and their lives. And as the empire grew, their faith became a rich and diverse landscape, absorbing elements from the many cultures that came under its peaceful rule. Asterisk, as we continue to wander through this fascinating time, we must always remember that the Roman Empire was more than just a place. On a map, it was a vibrant civilization, a great melting pot of cultures and ideas that forever shaped the course of human history. We have seen its grandeur in the opulent villas of the wealthy, and its quiet dignity in the humble dwellings of the common people, from the intellectual salons to the bustling marketplaces, from the grand spectacles in the Colosseum to the serene quiet of the public baths. It was a world of gentle contrasts, a world of quiet power and gentle struggle, of deep learning and simple human hopes. So let us journey again through the vibrant streets of Rome, the heart of it all. Imagine the sight of the grand Colosseum and the Pantheon rising against the sky, architectural marvels that stand even today as a testament to Rome's incredible engineering skill. For most Romans, home was a place within an insula, a multi-story apartment building, though often built simply. This was the everyday reality for the city's families, their lives and stories unfolding within these bustling vertical communities. Only the very wealthy could afford a private home or domas. These were often luxurious, peaceful residences, with rooms arranged around a central courtyard, beautifully adorned with intricate mosaics and colorful frescoes. Within these homes, the family was the fundamental unit of society. The pater familias, the father of the family, held a gentle but absolute authority over his kin, a power that extended over his wife, children, and servants, binding them all into a single, supportive household. But Roman women enjoyed a significant degree of freedom for the ancient world. They could own property, and many were respected and influential figures in their own right. Asterisk, and of course, servitude was a constant presence in the Roman world. Enslaved people performed an endless array of tasks, from quiet domestic chores and tutoring to the hard labor of the fields and mines. The life of a slave was far from simple, and their treatment varied greatly. From relative kindness to the most severe of hardships, the genius of the Romans could also be seen in their remarkable feats of engineering and their care for public health. They built a vast and intricate network of roads and bridges, like veins carrying life and commerce to the farthest reaches of their world. And with quiet ingenuity, their aqueducts would carry fresh, cool water from distant springs, guiding it gently into the cities and towns, feeding the tranquil public baths, and ensuring a standard of cleanliness that was a marvel for the ancient world. The food of the Romans was often simple, yet nourishing, with wheat and barley forming the staples of most meals. They enjoyed a wonderful variety of fruits, vegetables, and legumes from the fertile earth. For the wealthier meals could include meat, fish, and exotic spices from faraway lands. And for nearly everyone there was the love of wine, a familiar comfort consumed at meals and social gatherings. In Roman society, education was deeply valued. The children of wealthy families were often taught by private tutors in the quiet of their homes, while others attended public schools. The lessons were often rigorous, focusing on reading, writing, and arithmetic, but also on the moral conduct that was expected of a Roman citizen. And as we've seen, faith was a constant presence, permeating every part of a Roman's day, with a deep belief in maintaining a proper and peaceful relationship with the gods through quiet rituals and sacrifices. Yet, for all its grandeur, the empire was not without its struggles. Poverty and inequality were a part of life, and the great divide between the rich and the poor was a stark reality. The grand public entertainments, the gladiatorial games and chariot races were often used as a gentle diversion, a way to soothe the population and turn their attention away from the challenges of their society, and so, when we look upon this intricate tapestry of Roman life, we see a society of both remarkable achievements and profound challenges. From their incredible architectural marvels to their complex social structures, the Romans crafted a civilization that continues to influence our world. And as we close our eyes now, preparing for sleep, we can carry the quiet echoes of this ancient world with us, a gentle reminder of the human capacity to create, to adapt, and to endure. Let your mind now drift deeper as we explore the remarkable city planning and infrastructure that formed the foundation of this prosperity. Imagine the intricate designs and remarkable efficiency, reflecting a society that valued organization, practicality, and a touch of gentle luxury. At the very heart of every Roman city was the Forum, a great public square that served as the central hub for all political, economic, and social activities. The Forum was typically surrounded by important government buildings, temples, and markets. It was here that citizens would gather to discuss the matters of the day, to engage in trade, or simply to socialize in the warm afternoon sun. The city's grandeur was often captured in its monumental structures. The most famous of these is the Colosseum, an engineering marvel that could hold 50,000 spectators for great public spectacles. But even the smaller towns and cities had their own amphitheaters, built on a more modest scale for their communities to gather. A quiet, quintessential feature of Roman city planning was the grid system. Roads were laid out in a gentle grid pattern, bringing an efficient and calming order to the city. This simple layout made for easy navigation and divided the city into manageable blocks, its streets often lined with shops and stalls, creating a lively yet peaceful atmosphere. The Romans understood the deep importance of clean water for the health and well-being of their citizens. Their aqueducts, some of which are still in use today, are a quiet testament to their foresight and ingenuity. Not to be overlooked is the Roman sewer system, another engineering marvel that greatly improved the sanitation of the city. It was a vast, unseen network that carried away waste and stormwater. Maintaining a sense of cleanliness and calm, Roman homes, known as the domus, were equally impressive. In the cities, these homes were often part of the insulae, apartment buildings with the ground floor typically reserved for shops, while the upper floors housed the living quarters. The wealthier Romans, however, lived in detached houses with multiple rooms, a serene central courtyard, and often private baths. The great public baths were not merely a place for hygiene, but also a gentle social center. Grand structures like the Baths of Caracalla in Rome boasted an array of peaceful facilities, including hot and cold pools, saunas, gymnasiums, and even quiet libraries. Here, one could enjoy a leisurely soak, a bit of exercise, or engage in intellectual conversation, all under one magnificent roof, from their city planning and infrastructure to their homes and social centers. The Romans demonstrated a deep understanding of urban living. They recognized the need for organization, cleanliness, leisure, and community, and they wove these principles into the very fabric of their designs. This thoughtful attention to detail contributed to the high standard of living during the peak of the Roman Empire. As we continue our journey into the past, let us find ourselves now at the heart of that empire, in its bustling capital, Rome. The city stood as a testament to this grandeur, a place where one could witness the full breadth of Roman life and culture. As we wander through the ancient city in our minds, we first come across the famous Roman bathhouses. They were not just places for hygiene, but served as social hubs where Romans of all classes would gather to gossip, conduct business, and relax after a long day. These bathhouses were architectural masterpieces, with large heated pools, steam rooms, and gymnasiums. Some even housed libraries and lecture rooms. The Romans took great care in their personal hygiene, and these peaceful establishments were a testament to that commitment. Stepping out from the warmth of the bathhouse, we find ourselves on the bustling streets. The city was a hive of activity, its streets and alleys filled with vendors selling their wares, fresh produce, fish, meat, clothing, and jewelry. There was a constant, gentle hum of conversation, of haggling, and the soft clatter of carts and chariots. Our path leads us to the Grand Forum, the heart of Roman public life. Here, one could find the great temples, the Senate House, and the markets. It was in the Forum that the citizens of Rome would gather to hear important speeches, to witness public affairs, and to feel the pulse of their city. The illustrious marble buildings would reflect the sun, creating an almost ethereal glow that must have been a wondrous sight. Just beyond the Forum, we find the Circus Maximus, the great stadium where Romans would flock to witness the thrilling chariot races. These events were immensely popular, and the air would be filled with the roar of the crowd as they cheered for their favorite charioteers. And further on, we come across the Colosseum, the grand amphitheater that was the venue for gladiatorial contests and other public spectacles. As the day winds down, we find ourselves in the residential districts. The wealthy lived in grand villas adorned with beautiful mosaics and frescoes, while the less fortunate resided in apartment blocks. As the sun sets, the city is illuminated by oil lamps casting a warm, gentle glow on the stone buildings. The streets are quieter now, but the city is far from sleeping. In taverns and inns, Romans gather to eat, drink, and enjoy each other's company, with music and laughter filling the air. And as we conclude our journey through a day in Rome, it becomes clear that life during the peak of the Roman Empire was defined by a vibrant social scene, an appreciation for the arts, and a strong sense of community. It was a period of unrivaled prosperity and cultural advancement, the impact of which can still be felt today. So for now, close your eyes. Imagine the glow of the Roman lamps, the hum of the city as it goes about its nightly routines, and the distant laughter from a nearby tavern. Let the sounds and sights of ancient Rome lull you into a peaceful sleep, as we prepare for our next journey into the past. Asterisk, as we continue on our journey, we find ourselves landing once more in the bustling heart of the empire, Rome herself. It is important to remember that Rome was not just the capital, but a symbol of the empire's might, its wealth, and its gentle grandeur. The city was a metropolis, home to over 1 million residents, a figure that was truly staggering for the era. It was a melting pot of cultures, languages, and traditions, all coexisting peacefully under the strong edifice of Roman law and order. The city was a marvel of engineering, with grand structures, like the Colosseum, the Forum, and the Pantheon. The streets were alive with commerce, with traders from all corners of the empire selling their goods, and the sounds of the city were a constant, soothing hum, from the clatter of chariots on the cobblestones to the gentle chatter of citizens in the bathhouses and taverns. Amidst this bustle, the average Roman citizen led a life that was in many ways not so different from our own. They woke at dawn, had a light breakfast, and then went about their day's work. Many Romans were engaged in commerce, while others worked as craftsmen, soldiers, or farmers. Lunch was a quick and simple meal, often eaten on the go, while dinner was a more elaborate and gentle affair, a time to be shared with family and friends. Yet, despite the grandeur of the city, life was not always easy for the average Roman citizen. The gap between the rich and the poor was wide, and for many, home was a small, cramped apartment in a multi-story building known as an insula. These structures were often unsafe and unsanitary, and the threat of fire was a constant worry. The city even had a dedicated fire brigade, a vital part of its infrastructure. But despite these challenges, Roman society was remarkably resilient and adaptive. The Romans were great innovators, developing many technologies that we still take for granted today. They built a complex system of aqueducts to bring fresh, cool water into the city, and a network of roads and bridges that connected the farthest corners of the empire. They had public baths, gymnasiums, and quiet libraries, and they deeply valued education and the arts. In terms of culture, the Romans were great enthusiasts of the theatre, and plays were a popular form of entertainment. Epic poetry, philosophy, and history were also highly valued, and the works of great Roman writers like Virgil and Horace have survived through the centuries to this day. The Romans also loved their sports and games. Chariot races were a popular pastime, and the Circus Maximus, the largest stadium in Rome, could hold up to 250,000 spectators. Gladiatorial games were also a major attraction, and while they were often a brutal and bloody spectacle, they were a central part of Roman public life. Religion played a central role in their world. The Romans were polytheistic, worshipping a pantheon of gods and goddesses. Temples dedicated to these deities dotted the city, and religious festivals were a regular and important part of Roman life. The emperor himself was often seen as a divine figure, his cult a unifying part of the state religion. As we look back on this time, it's important to remember that Rome was not just a city, but a symbol. It was the heart of an empire that spanned 3 continents, a testament to the ingenuity, ambition, and resilience of its people. Life in Rome was a small reflection of life in the empire at large, filled with all the complexities and challenges that come with being a part of one of history's greatest civilizations. As the sun would set on another day, the Romans, much like us, sought entertainment and leisure to fill their free time. The theatre was an integral part of their culture, a place for both entertainment and social connection. Performances were diverse, ranging from tragedies and comedies to pantomimes and mimes. The grand theatres, often located in the heart of the city, could hold thousands of spectators, adding a vibrant pulse to the urban landscape. These performances were not just for amusement, but also served as a platform for social commentary, often reflecting the political and social issues of the day. And alongside the theatre, the Romans found amusement in the gladiatorial games. These were powerful spectacles, and despite their violent nature, they were extremely popular, drawing great crowds from all social classes. The games were also a way for emperors to gain favor with the masses, and they would often sponsor lavish spectacles at their own expense. However, it wasn't all violence and drama. The Romans also appreciated the finer things in life. The baths, known as thermae, were a common sight in Roman cities. They were not just places for bathing, but for socializing, conducting business, and even exercising. The larger bathhouses were architectural marvels, boasting heated floors, steam rooms, and ornate mosaics. For many Romans, a daily visit to the bathhouse was a cherished ritual, a testament to the importance of cleanliness and hygiene in their society. The Roman diet was another fascinating aspect of their culture. The food of a Roman citizen would vary greatly depending on their social status. The wealthy indulged in extravagant feasts with dishes made from a variety of exotic ingredients. These banquets were often elaborate affairs lasting for hours and accompanied by entertainment. On the other hand, the diet of the common citizen was more modest, typically consisting of grains, fruits, vegetables, and occasionally meat. The social structure of the empire was rigid, with a clear distinction between the aristocratic elite and the common citizens. At the top were the emperors and the senatorial class, followed by the equestrians, and then the plebeians. Slaves were at the very bottom of this hierarchy. Despite these social divisions, a degree of social mobility was possible through military service, financial success, or political ambition. It was possible for individuals to rise through the ranks. Education was highly valued. Children from wealthy families were often tutored at home, learning a curriculum that included literature, history, and philosophy. The less privileged often received a more basic education, if any at all. Regardless of social class, education was seen as essential for preparing young Romans for their roles as citizens and leaders. As we delve deeper into the life of the Romans, we begin to see a society that is both familiar and alien to us. Their customs, traditions, and daily routines offer a fascinating glimpse into a civilization that, despite its eventual decline, has left an enduring legacy on the world. As the night draws in, let's take a moment to appreciate the complexity and richness of Roman life during the peak of the empire. For now, however, let's close our eyes and dream of the grandeur that was Rome. Let us now move our focus from the bustling public spaces to the quiet, intimate settings of Roman homes. The home, or domus, was a critical part of their society, offering a fascinating glimpse into the daily life of the period. These homes varied greatly depending on the wealth and status of their owners. The rich lived in spacious, opulent houses decorated with intricate mosaics and frescoes, while the poor resided in cramped, multi-story apartment buildings known as insula. Traditional home of a wealthy Roman was a marvel of architectural design. It consisted of several rooms, including a dining room, bedrooms, a kitchen, and a study. At the heart of the home was the atrium, a large, open central space with an opening in the roof. This ingenious design provided natural light and ventilation, while allowing rainwater to collect in a shallow pool below. The walls were often adorned with beautiful frescoes depicting scenes from mythology, landscapes, or daily life, while the floors were covered in mosaics. Painstakingly crafted from tiny colored tiles, these decorative elements were a way for the homeowner to display their wealth, taste, and education. The Roman home was also a place of work. Many wealthy citizens had shops or offices attached to their houses where they conducted business. Enslaved people performed much of the actual labor, from managing shops and cooking meals to cleaning the home. In contrast, the insulae were crowded apartment buildings that housed the city's lower classes. These buildings were often poorly constructed, and the apartments themselves were small, often with a single room serving as both a living and sleeping area. Despite these hardships, the insula were vibrant places, teeming with life and activity. Food and dining were central aspects of Roman life. For the lower classes, meals were simple, often consisting of grain, vegetables, and occasionally meat or fish. The wealthy, however, indulged in extravagant feasts that showcased their status. A typical banquet might include a wide range of dishes, from oysters to peacock, accompanied by fine wines and followed by entertainments such as music, dancing, or poetry readings. Education was highly valued. Children were taught at home by their parents or by private tutors until the age of 7, when they began formal schooling. Boys learned reading, writing, arithmetic, and rhetoric, while girls were generally taught spinning, weaving, and other domestic skills. Religion permeated every aspect of Roman life, from the grand public rituals to the quiet, private ceremonies. Conducted within the home, each house had a small shrine or lararium where the household gods were worshipped. These spirits were believed to watch over and protect the home and all of its inhabitants. Let your mind wander now through the bustling streets of Rome, imagining the sights and sounds of this remarkable time. In our next story, we will explore the fascinating world of Roman entertainment, where grand contests captured the imagination of the people and provided a welcome distraction from the challenges of daily life. For now, however, let us turn our attention to the political structure and the powerful military that formed the backbone of this historical powerhouse. At the heart of the Roman political system was the Senate, an advisory council made up of Rome's most prestigious citizens. Composed of lifelong members, the Senate was not only a political body, but also a social institution, a place where the elite could discuss matters of state and society. Its primary role was to advise, but its decisions held significant weight. While the emperor held supreme power, maintaining the illusion of the old republic was important. Emperors would often go to great lengths to secure the Senate's approval, which gave their decisions an aura of legitimacy. The emperor, of course, could not rule alone. The imperial court was a complex web of officials and advisors, and the emperor's own household was the administrative hub of the entire empire. But the Roman Empire was also a massive military machine. The Romans had a professional standing army, the first of its kind in history. The backbone of this army was the legions, well-trained and disciplined units of about 5,000 men each. The legions were not just fighting forces. They were also engineering corps, building the roads, bridges, and fortifications that stretched across the empire. Each legion was a self-contained unit with its own command structure, medical staff, and engineers. They also served as a police force, maintaining law and order in the provinces. A key to the success of the Roman military was its adaptability. The Romans would often adopt the tactics and weapons of the enemies they defeated, integrating them into their own military doctrine. The Roman navy also played a crucial role, protecting the vital sea routes for trade and communication. Life in the military was hard, but it offered opportunities for social advancement. A career in the army or navy was a path to citizenship for many, with soldiers being rewarded with land, money, and the opportunity to climb the social ladder. As we delve deeper into this time, it becomes clear that the Romans lived in a world both similar and strangely alien to our own. Let's take a closer look at the day-to-day life of an average citizen. Romans would awake with the sunrise, often to the sounds of the bustling city streets. As the first rays of light peeked over the horizon, Rome would already be coming alive with the noises of vendors setting up their stalls, the clatter of carts on the cobblestone streets, and the distant ringing of blacksmiths' hammers. Most Romans lived in small apartments, sharing their space with extended family. Breakfast was a simple affair, a meal of bread, cheese, and perhaps some olives or dried fruit, washed down with a cup of sour wine diluted with water. After breakfast, the men of the house would head off to work or to the forum, while the women remained at home to oversee the household chores. The workday was fairly short, often ending in the early afternoon, partly due to the hot Mediterranean climate. After work, many Romans would head to the baths, a key part of their social life. These weren't just places to get clean, but spaces for socializing, exercising, and even conducting business. The Roman baths were grand, elaborate buildings featuring a series of heated rooms and pools. Visitors would start in a warm room too, open the pores before moving to a hotter one, and after sweating in the heat, they would plunge into the cold waters of the frigidarium. Many baths also had gymnasiums, libraries, and even barbershops. After their visit to the baths, Romans would return home for cena, the main meal of the day. This was a leisurely affair, often lasting several hours. A typical Roman dinner might include a starter of eggs or a salad, followed by a main course of meat or fish, and finishing with a dessert of fruit or honeyed cakes. Wine was a common accompaniment, usually served watered down. Evening in Rome was a time for relaxation and entertainment. Many Romans would attend the theater or watch the great games at the Colosseum. Others might visit a quiet tavern for a drink or simply enjoy a leisurely stroll around the city as darkness fell. The streets would be lit by oil lamps, casting a warm, flickering glow over the stone buildings. And yet, it is important to remember that life in the Roman Empire was also marked by vast inequalities. Servitude was a fundamental part of the society, and the lives of the enslaved were often harsh and brutal. At the other end of the scale, the Roman elite lived lives of unimaginable luxury, feasting on exotic dishes and wearing garments of the finest silk. Rome was a city of contrasts, where grandeur and squalor existed side by side, a place where the mundane and the extraordinary were intertwined, creating a society that continues to fascinate us, even 2,000 years later. Let us delve now into the daily life and customs during the Pax Romana, or the Roman peace, a period of stability that lasted for over 200 years. This was an era of significant growth and prosperity, a time when the empire's boundaries extended from Britain to Egypt and from Spain to Mesopotamia. At the very heart of it all was the city of Rome itself, A bustling metropolis of over 1 million people, its citizens were a diverse mix of not just Romans, but also Greeks, Jews, Gauls, Germans, and many others from the far corners of the empire. The city was the hub of trade, politics, and culture, with magnificent public buildings and luxurious private homes showcasing the wealth and power of the age. Roman society was strictly hierarchical. At the top were the senators, members of the oldest and wealthiest families who held most of the political power. Below them were the equestrians, the wealthy businessmen and professionals. The bulk of the population were the plebeians, the free citizens who could vote but held little political power. And at the very bottom were the enslaved, who had no rights and were considered property. Life in Rome was a blend of work, leisure, and public participation. Most Romans worked 6 days a week, with businesses and shops opening early in the morning and closing in the afternoon. Many were traders, artisans, or farmers, though some held jobs as teachers, doctors, or civil servants. Enslaved people performed much of the manual labor, from construction work and rowing ships to quiet household chores. Despite the long hours of work, Romans also knew how to enjoy life. The public baths were a popular place for socializing after a day's work, where one could relax, play quiet games, and discuss the matters of the day. The Romans loved their games, from board games similar to backgammon to physical activities like wrestling. The most popular spectator sport was the gladiatorial games, where trained fighters battled in front of large, cheering crowds. Food was another important aspect of Roman life. Most ate 3 meals a day: a light breakfast, a main meal at midday, and a light dinner in the evening. The diet of the common Roman consisted mostly of cereals, bread, cheese, fruits, and vegetables. The wealthy, on the other hand, indulged in extravagant feasts with exotic dishes, fine wines, and elaborate desserts. Education was highly valued. Wealthy families often employed tutors to educate their children at home, while poorer families sent their children to school. Subjects included reading, writing, arithmetic, music, and rhetoric, and religion was a central aspect of their world, with every home having a small, quiet shrine to the household gods. The Romans honored a wide pantheon of gods and goddesses, and temples were common sites, with religious festivals, sacrifices, and processions being frequent occurrences. As we immerse ourselves in this tapestry of daily life, we can better appreciate the complex society and culture that the Romans built. As you drift into sleep, imagine the bustling streets of Rome, the cheering crowds in the Colosseum, and the quiet whisper of prayers in the temples, and let the gentle echoes of this ancient civilization lull you into peaceful dreams. The structure of Roman society was very hierarchical, broadly divided into the patricians, who were the aristocratic families, the plebeians, the common people, and the enslaved. The patricians were the elite, the wealthy landowners and political leaders. They lived in large, luxurious houses, often on hills overlooking the city, and enjoyed a life of leisure. They would spend their days in the forum discussing politics, attending religious festivals, or watching the great games. In stark contrast were the plebeians, the common people of Rome, the farmers, the tradesmen, the soldiers, and the laborers. Though they made up the majority of the population, they had little political power and were often at the mercy of the patricians. Over time, however, the plebeians were able to win. Certain rights and privileges, including the right to elect their own tribunes to protect their interests. Despite these gains, the life of a plebeian was often hard, with long hours of work and little time for leisure. It is important to note, however, that the line between the classes was not always clear-cut. Many plebeians were able to gain wealth and status through their efforts in trade or military service, and these new men, as they were called, often tried to emulate the lifestyle of the patricians. Let's just take a break and listen to this music and sleep, and meet again tomorrow. you.